Soccer news. Liverpool opened a 5-point lead at the top of the Premier League with a 2-0 home defeat of Aston Villa after Manchester City slumped to a fourth successive defeat as Brighton and Hove Albion hit back to beat champions 2-1 at home on Saturday. Arne Slot's side made it 9 wins from their opening 11 league games, with Darwin Núñez and Mohamed Salah scoring the goals in a deadly demonstration of counterattacking. City took the lead with Erling Haaland scoring his 12th league goal of the campaign, but late goals by João Pedro and Matt O'Reilly stunned Pep Guardiola's side, who entered the international break with much to ponder. Liverpool head into the international break with 28 points from 11 games, with City on 23, while Brighton and Hove Albion are in 4th place on 19 points. 3rd place Nottingham Forest could move to 22 points if they beat Newcastle United on Sunday. Dutchman Slot has enjoyed a remarkable start at Liverpool, with 15 wins from his first 17 in charge since replacing the seemingly irreplaceable Jurgen Klopp. His style is more pragmatic than Klopp's, but no less spectacular at times, as they showed on Saturday. Núñez opened the scoring after 20 minutes when Liverpool broke at lightning pace following an Aston Villa corner, and after Mohamed Salah was bundled over by Leon Bailey, Núñez took matters into his own hands to round Emiliano Martinez and blast home a shot from a narrow angle. Villa, whose season has hit a rough patch, were denied an equalizer by some excellent saves by Kevin Kelleher, but were floored late on when, after another counterattack from deep in Liverpool's half, Salah burst clear to finish in style. In general, we had control over the game and scored from 2 counterattacks, which is maybe not what we would expect, Slot said. Margins are small. We have a margin, but it is small. There are many challenges to come for us. Manchester City midfielder Bernardo Silva said after the 4-1 thrashing away to Sporting in the Champions League in midweek that the team were in a dark place. And despite Haaland's early goal at Brighton, the gloom deepened as they lost their grip on the game, with João Pedro and O'Reilly capping memorable night for the Seagulls. I will reflect in these 10 days. Clear our heads, players come back fit. This is the target. Guardiola, whose only similar run in all competitions was at Bayern Munich in 2015, when he suffered 3 back-to-back defeats and a penalty shootout loss in the German Cup, told reporters. We try to analyze how we perform. 4 in a row. Okay. The question is how we are playing. The level we're playing is really good in certain moments, but we are not able to continue. It is also the first time City have lost 4 successive games in all competitions in 18 years. Fulham climbed to 7th after a 2-0 win away at London rivals Crystal Palace, with goals by Emile Smith-Rowe and Harry Wilson. The hosts were reduced to 10 men after Daichi Kamada was shown a red card for a dangerous tackle. Brentford twice came from behind to beat Bournemouth 3-2 thanks to a brace from Jon Wissa. Wolverhampton Wanderers finally tasted victory after a wretched start to the season as they beat fellow strugglers Southampton 2-0 to climb off the foot of the table. Pablo Sarabia scored after 2 minutes, Wolves' fastest goal in a Premier League match, and Matheus Cunha wrapped up the points to the relief of manager Gary O'Neill. Wolves moved up to 18th place with 6 points, with Southampton now bottom on 4. Ipswich Town, now the only team in the Premier League without a win, have 5 points ahead of their visit to Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday. West Ham United and Everton played out a dull 0-0 draw at the London Stadium. Manchester City need to clear their heads during the upcoming international break and then return fit to play, manager Pep Guardiola said after his team's 2-1 loss at Brighton and Hove Albion that stretched their losing run to 4 games. Saturday's loss marked the first time City, second in the standings, have lost 4 in a row in all competitions since August 2006. Guardiola has now lost 4 successive matches for the first time in his otherwise glittering managerial career. Juventus manager Thiago Motta was in high spirits after his side comfortably won the Turin Derby with a 2-0 home victory over neighbors Torino in Serie A on Saturday. The Brazilian, who took over in July, was very happy with the result of his first Northern Italian derby, which left Torino without a win in 19 meetings of the one-sided rivalry. Paris Saint-Germain's Lee Kang-in and Bradley Barcola each scored twice in the first half as the leaders cruised to a 4-2 win at promoted Angers on Saturday to remain unbeaten in Ligue 1. PSG bounced back after their midweek Champions League home loss to Atletico Madrid to reach 29 points and maintain a 6-point lead over second-placed Monaco, who won 3-1 at Strasbourg. Bayern Munich earned a nervous 1-0 win at St. Pauli thanks to a sensational 28-meter drive from Jamal Musiala to stay unbeaten and open a 5-point lead atop the Bundesliga on Saturday. Bayern, fresh from their 1-0 Champions League win over Benfica, courtesy of another goal from in-form Musiala, will go into the international break leading the standings. Inter Milan boss Simone Inzaghi believes leaders Napoli have become stronger and are very well organized under new coach Antonio Conte, and added that his side were ready for a great match in Sunday's top-of-the-table Serie A showdown. Napoli have 25 points from 11 games, a point above reigning champions Inter, who they meet at the San Siro. Brentford striker Yohan Wissa netted a double as his side twice came from behind to grab a 3-2 home win over Bournemouth in a rip-roaring mid-table Premier League clash on Saturday. Bournemouth were gifted the opener in the 17th minute as Sepp van den Berg's disastrous back pass went directly to Evanilson, and the Brazilian forward rounded the keeper easily before rolling the ball into the net to put the visitors ahead. Koji Miyoshi scored an 89th-minute goal to give strugglers VfL Bochum a 1-1 draw against visiting champions Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga on Saturday. Leverkusen looked to be laboring to a 1-0 win when Miyoshi struck from close range to level to give new Bochum coach Dieter Hecking a successful start to his quest to turn their season around. Bayern Munich's 1-0 win at promoted St. Pauli on Saturday may have been far from impressive, but it shows there are no easy games in the Bundesliga, said the Bavarians' coach Vincent Kompany. Bayern had scored 12 goals in their previous 3 league games going into the encounter in Hamburg, but they struggled against the disciplined hosts, who staunchly refused to capitulate. Real Madrid defender Eder Militao will undergo surgery after sustaining an anterior cruciate ligament ACL tear in their 4-0 La Liga win over Osasuna on Saturday and is set to miss several months for the second consecutive season, the La Liga club said. The Brazil center-back was injured when he hyperextended his knee trying to strike a rebound early in the game and was in tears as he was helped off the pitch. Champions League competitors Borussia Dortmund slumped to a 3-1 loss at Mainz 05 on Saturday, a 4th consecutive defeat on the road in the Bundesliga this season, which left them 7th in the standings. Dortmund, who had a midweek confidence boost with a 1-0 home win over Sturm Graz, will now have to go back to the drawing board during the international break to attempt to turn their season around. Brighton and Hove Albion have appointed Daniel Niedzkowski as assistant head coach, the Premier League club said on Saturday. Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. scored a hat-trick to help the La Liga champions snap a 2-game winless run in all competitions with a commanding 4-0 victory over Osasuna on Saturday. Following shock defeats by Barcelona and AC Milan, their first back-to-back home losses in over 3 years, Real suffered 2 major early blows against Osasuna as forward Rodrigo and defender Eder Militao were both forced off injured. The 47-year-old German will leave his role as head of the German Football Association's DFB coaches training program and will begin at Brighton in January. It is uncertain whether Barcelona winger Lamine Yamal will be fit to start in Sunday's La Liga match at Real Sociedad, manager Hansi Flick said. Defender Pau Cubarsí is in contention after suffering a facial injury in Wednesday's 5-2 Champions League win at Red Star Belgrade. Atletico Madrid manager Diego Simeone expects his side to take confidence from their last-gasp 2-1 Champions League win at Paris Saint-Germain when they travel to face Mallorca in La Liga on Sunday. After a tough October in which Atletico secured one victory in 5 matches in all competitions, including consecutive Champions League losses, they have won their last 3 games. Lecce sacked coach Luca Gotti on Saturday after a poor run of results left them languishing in the Serie A relegation zone. Lecce, 18th in the standings with 9 points, drew 1-1 at home with 10th-placed Empoli on Friday. Fenerbahce coach Jose Mourinho has been suspended for 1 match and fined by the Turkish Football Federation, TFF, for criticizing the performance of the video assistant referee after a 3-2 Super League win at Trabzonspor. Olympique de Marseille coach Roberto De Zerbi has threatened to quit the Ligue 1 side after their dreadful run at home continued on Friday with a 3-1 loss to AJ Auxerre in a league match at the Stade Vélodrome. Marseille are second in the Ligue 1 standings but have won just 1 of 5 home games this season. They have lost their last 2 matches, conceding 3 goals in each. Trabzonspor were awarded 2 penalties in the second half following VAR interventions, and with the scores level at 2-2, Mourinho was incensed when a challenge on Bright Osayi Samuel went unpunished. Next rugby news. Former players and media pundits lined up on Sunday to heap praise on the Wallabies for Saturday's surprise victory over England, hailing the last-gasp win as a turning point for Australian rugby under coach Joe Schmidt. Since Australia's last triumph at Twickenham in 2015, the Wallabies have endured a dismal period, which reached its nadir when they were dumped out of the World Cup in the pool stage for the first time last year. Argentina coach Felipe Contepomi was of course happy with his side's 50-18 demolition of Italy on Saturday, but he was even more thrilled with how they achieved the win. Italy made far too many errors, but Argentina's intensity meant they took full advantage every time, leading to the emphatic win. France hit a woeful Japan for 8 tries in an emphatic 52-12 Autumn Series win on their Stade de France return on Saturday, following last year's World Cup on home soil, gearing up in style for next weekend's clash with New Zealand. Man of the match Louis Biel-Biarri and Paul Boudin bagged 2 tries each, while Emilian Gaëtan, Alexander Romate, Pito Movaca, and Jean-Baptiste Gros also touched down, and Thomas Ramos converted 6 of them to seal France's biggest win against Japan in an official test. Australia replacement Max Jorgensen scored a superb try with the clock in the red to give the visitors a dramatic 42-37 victory over England on Saturday in a frenetic 10-try match that saw the lead change hands 4 times in a breathtaking final 15 minutes. England thought they had snatched it when Marcus Smith converted Maro Itoje's 78th minute score, only for the irrepressible Wallabies to dig deep and somehow grab the upset win. New Zealand coach Scott Robertson said his side showed their most astute game management since he took charge at the start of this year in Friday's clinical 23-13 win over world number 1 side Ireland at the Aviva Stadium. New Zealand traveled with plenty to prove in their November tour after a disappointing maiden rugby championship for Robertson, where the once notoriously strong finishers managed just 1 score in the last quarter in each of their 6 games. Ireland coach Andy Farrell bemoaned a lack of accuracy and too many errors after his side were deservedly beaten at home for the first time in 20 matches with a 23-13 loss to New Zealand on Friday. After the All Blacks produced a performance for the ages to narrowly knock Ireland out of the World Cup a year ago, they just needed the superior discipline and cohesion in a far more tepid affair at the Aviva Stadium. New Zealand secured a statement victory for new coach Scott Robertson, as Damien McKenzie helped kick them to a 23-13 success over world number 1 side Ireland and hand their rivals a first home defeat in 20 matches at the Aviva Stadium on Friday. The All Blacks anticipated a backlash after dumping Ireland out of last year's Rugby World Cup in an epic clash, but Friday's game failed to live up to the pre-match hype, and a more cohesive New Zealand took control early on and shaded the first half 9-6. Wales women's coach Ewan Cunningham has left by mutual agreement after 3 years in the job, the Welsh Rugby Union said on Friday, a week after the WRU apologized to players for its handling of contract negotiations. Wales, who are ranked 10th in the world, managed only 4 wins in 11 games this year. They finished last in the Women's Six Nations earlier this year. England captain Jamie George has urged his team to show the courage to play for 80 minutes when they face Australia on Saturday after a hat-trick of defeats to New Zealand, where they effectively stopped attacking in the latter stages. Last week's 24-22 defeat at Twickenham came after 2 July losses, when England also led in the final quarter but did not add to their points tally and were overhauled. Next tennis news. Denis Shapovalov won his second ATP Tour title, and first in 5 years, by defeating home country favorite Hamad Medjedovic 6-4, 6-4 at the Belgrade Open in Serbia on Saturday. The only other championship trophy for Shapovalov, of Canada, came in Stockholm in 2019. This trophy, however, was presented by Serbian legend Novak Djokovic. Shapovalov, a tournament qualifier, won in 77 minutes on the strength of 13 aces and a winning percentage of 82 on first serve points. The 25-year-old missed the second half of 2023 because of injury and spent this season working back into form. For Medjedovic, 21, it was his first ATP Tour final. Moselle Open. French qualifier Benjamin Bonzi defeated Great Britain's Cameron Norrie 7-6, 6-4 to win his first-ever ATP Tour-level final in Metz, France. The 28-year-old entered the tournament with an 0-6 mark on the season. He beat a pair of seeded opponents, number 2 Casper Ruud of Norway and number 8 Alex Michelsen, along his way to the final. Against Norrie, Bonzi recorded 10 aces and saved 13 of 14 breakpoints. The match was remarkably close, with Bonzi winning 81 and Norrie 76 of the total 157 points. Bonzi had 37 winners against 27 unforced errors, with Norrie registering 33 and 22 respectively. Defiant Coco. Goff fought back to beat China's Zheng Qianwen 3-6, 6-4, 7-6-2 in a 3-hour thriller on Saturday and become the youngest player to win the WTA Finals in 20 years and the first American champion since Serena Williams a decade ago. The 20-year-old Goff stormed to a 6-0 lead in the final set tiebreak before easing to victory, falling to the court in celebration as she clinched the year-end world number 3 ranking for the second straight time. American Coco. Goff had a bitterly disappointing summer, but on Saturday the youngster was able to celebrate lifting her first WTA Finals trophy, regaining her confidence after a string of frustrating defeats to end her year on a high note. The 20-year-old showed her mettle against China's Olympic champion Zheng Qianwen in the Riyadh finale, coming back from a set down and holding her nerve through a gritty 3-hour and 4-minute affair to win 3-6, 6-4, 7-6-2. World number 2 Alexander Zverev said he is thrilled with the level of tennis he has displayed this year and thinks his performances have helped quash any doubts about him that arose after a serious ankle injury in 2022. Zverev, who had an extended spell on the sidelines after damaging his ankle ligaments at the 2022 French Open, returned to his career-high number 2 in the world rankings following his victory in the Paris Masters this month. The German also won a Masters 1000 title at the Italian Open in May and reached the final of the French Open. Canadian qualifier Denis Shapovalov blew past Czech fourth seed Jiří Lehecka 6-2, 6-1 in 56 minutes to advance to the final of the Belgrade Open on Friday in the Serbian capital. Shapovalov, once ranked as highly as number 10 in the world, had not reached an ATP Tour final since October 2022. His only career title came at the Stockholm Open in October 2019. Shapovalov blitzed Lehecka, winning a whopping 25 of 26 first service points, 96.2%, and 15 of 18 points on second return, 83.3%. American Coco Gauff defeated world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka 7-6, 4, 6-3 in the semifinals of the WTA Finals on Friday and will take on China's Zheng Qianwen in the showpiece match. Sabalenka will end the year at the top of the world rankings, but her bid for a maiden WTA Finals title was ended by Gauff, who reached her first final at the end-of-season event. Next cricket news. India opener Sanju Samson scored a sparkling century as the tourists beat South Africa by 61 runs in the first match of a 4-game 2020 series in Durban on Friday. South Africa asked India to bat, and the visitors posted 202 for 8 in their 20 overs, before restricting their hosts to 141 all out in 17.5 overs for a comprehensive victory. India's total was boosted by a brilliant 107 from 50 balls by Samson, but the innings did stall towards the end. Samson smashed 10 sixes and 7 fours as he tore into the bowling at the small Kingsmead ground. He rattled along at a strike rate of 214, providing more than half his team's total. The amount of hard work Samson, has put in over the last few years, doing those boring things again and again, he is reaping the fruits now, India captain Suryakumar Yadav said. He is putting the team first. Even when he was in the 90s, he was looking to hit 4s and 6s. That's what separates him. At 167-2 in the 15th over, India looked on course for a score well in excess of 200, but managed only another 35 runs in 32 balls for the loss of 6 wickets after Tilak Varma was dismissed for 33. Seamers Marco Jansen, 1-24 in 4 overs, and Gerald Coetzee, 3-37, were the pick of the home attack. India's leg-break bowlers stifled the South African reply as their innings never managed to gain momentum. Varun Chakravarti took 3-25 as he picked up the key wickets of Heinrich Klaasen, 25, and David Miller, 18, while Ravi Bishnoi recorded figures of 3-28. We wanted to get off to a better start with the bat, and that's where we lost the game, South Africa captain Aiden Markram said. Sanju played incredibly well, put our bowlers under pressure. When a guy is striking like that, it is pretty hard to stop him, and you have to take your hat off. The second match of the series will be played in Kaba on Sunday.